There was another topic you brought up. I was trying to pick one, and this from the podcast, and I thought, well, this one looks really interesting to me. Repurposing your content for LinkedIn.
Yeah, so repurposing your content. So what I've been doing is I found out in the last year or so that I actually really love writing blog posts. I just didn't know that I didn't have a specific focus before, but I've discovered I love writing. And what I've been doing, I've written 5 articles for Social Media Examiner so far on LinkedIn.
Nice.
And then taking those, because I'm researching the pieces to the nth degree. So then turning that into a podcast episode is so simple. I did one recently on how to use video on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's literally all written out there in the blog post, it's really nice and easy to turn that into a podcast episode, which I love. But what I do with my podcast then is it comes out on the Wednesday. On the Monday or Tuesday before it comes out, I tend to do a post on LinkedIn asking my audience about the topic that the podcast is about. This is my strategy for the week for LinkedIn. I do also talk about other things in LinkedIn in between. But say, for example, if I was doing how to sell authentically on LinkedIn, on the Monday, I might do a poll asking my LinkedIn network, how do you feel about sales on LinkedIn? And, love it, it's too sleazy, it's, whatever options you give.
Yeah. That
gets the conversation going with my network about sales. Then the podcast comes out on the Wednesday, and I say to those people, well, the podcast is out if you want to have a listen to how we talk about selling authentically. And then on the Friday, I get the guests from the podcast and we go live on LinkedIn and talk about that topic. And we pull the questions that people and the discussion points that the people have had from the 2 previous posts on LinkedIn that week. And we talk about that on the LinkedIn Live podcast. Then the LinkedIn Live gets downloaded and uploaded to YouTube onto my YouTube channel. So that sounds really like it runs really smoothly, like clockwork. Not quite, but that's pretty much my strategy, and it works. I like having a strategy for a start. Say for the first few years of my business, there wasn't a lot of strategic direction. Sure. So, but like all business owners, you learn as you go, don't you? And you improve and reiterate. So.
Yeah. I love that. And I especially like you mentioned, because I've done something similar with the articles and what you were doing in conjunction, turning pieces into podcast episodes. I had a very similar experience. And I'm not sure it was in the same order, but I was researching for an article for Forbes, Forbes.com. For musicians, kind of the business of independent musicians. And so I was doing some interviews for these, which were informational gathering interviews. So the pieces that got published were not interviews, but I used every one of those for a podcast episode, a shorter, a different format one. So it was lovely, really nice.
Yes. I mean, you do all that work, you need to use it, right?
Exactly.